question and answer session. Now, there are pens and papers going around, so if anybody who hasn't asked any questions, who has any desire to ask any questions, please do fill out the piece of paper that's going around. And what we're planning to do is answer the questions, firstly in the form of questions which are relevant to the topic, and then we'll move on to more general questions. So there will be some brothers going around, so if anyone has any papers, if you could please put your hands up and somebody will collect them and bring them to the front.
It's easier for me if you write the question, because you all have different kind of accents. I'm from Trinidad. I have difficulty in understanding your accent. Also, my hearing is declining now, so it'll be easier for me if you write. Otherwise, if you speak, I'm going to have to say to you, can you repeat it? Can you repeat it? And before we start the question and answer session, please understand, this is the first time, I believe, that we are asking you to pay a registration. But this is a lovely hall. And I understand we will give a discount for the hall. We thank you for that discount. So we have asked you to give this registration in order to cover the cost of rental of the hall. If we have any extra money after we rent the hall, we pay the rental, we keep it for the next section, the next lecture, so that then we can charge you less, okay? Don't believe we are trying to make any money out of this. It's only to help us to pay the rent of the hall, that's all. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first question, Sheikh, following the Great War and the breakup of Pakistan, what must the Pakistani Muslims do, and will there be any further significance of that region in Akhir al-Zaman?
I can say with absolute certainty, without even a shadow of a doubt, that this government of Imran Khan, I'm so happy that he's now the Prime Minister. Yes, I welcome him. And I wish him well. And if I can be of any help to this government, believe you me, I'm there to help you. But I have absolute certainty that unless they turn to the Qur'an, absolute certainty that they will fail. They will fail. If the government now turns to the International Monetary Fund for yet another bailout, they call it a bailout. No, you're borrowing money on interest. Then, Mr. Prime Minister, I want you to know, if you do not know it as yet, because I understand you studied at Oxford, I want you to know that the curse of our Prophet is upon you and your government, upon the country. This is what he said. He cursed you if you borrow money on interest. He cursed all four. And when you borrow money on interest, who's going to repay it? It's not the Prime Minister who's going to repay it. Not his ministers who are going to repay it. No, it's the people. They're going to repay it. So the curse of the Prophet is upon the people, the whole country. If I am wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Come on and tell me I'm wrong. When you borrow that money from the IMF, and they want you to borrow it, of course, then the curse of the Prophet is going to be upon you. And if the curse of the Prophet is upon Pakistan, does Pakistan have any hope? When the Great War takes place? It is absolutely certain that Allah will be waging war on you as well, rather than helping you. So after the Great War takes place, unless the government of Pakistan has the good sense to turn to the Qur'an for guidance, when the Great War takes place, the attack on Pakistan will take place, and you could say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah as many times as you want. It's going to help you. No. They will succeed, of course, in the denuclearization of Pakistan, and they will break up Pakistan, of course. Your dua is not going to go anywhere. No. And after that, the opportunity will then arise to return now to the Khilafat movement. which was led by men, and I have to choose my words carefully now. This is a new generation, you know very little about their history. A Khilafat movement which was led by men who knew Islam and who lived Islam. Men whose names should be written in gold. I talk about Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar and his brother Shaukat Ali, about Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi, about Mufti Kifayatullah, about Shoaib Quraishi. The Khilafat movement was attempting, at least attempting, to remain faithful to the model of a state that came from the Qur'an, a Khilafah state. But then the Khilafah state, what remained of the Khilafah state in Constantinople, which subsequently became Istanbul, collapsed and was abolished. And the rug was pulled from underneath the Khilafat movement in India. And by 1924, the All India Muslim League was poised to take over. Take over. And since then, Khilafah has gone into the museums of history. Yes. But when the Great War takes place, then I anticipate that an opportunity will now arise for us to return to the struggle for the restoration of the Khilafah. And those whose hearts have not been contaminated with secular thought and who have not been misguided by the secular state of Turkey, Mustafa Kemal's Turkey as the model, we will now return to the struggle for the restoration of the Khilafah state. We know that that state will not be established until Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns and until Imam al-Mahdi emerges. But that's not our subject for today. So this is post-Pakistan, post-Pakistan. But I wish we don't have to talk to about post-Pakistan if this government will have the good sense to turn to the Qur'an for guidance.
Next question, Sheikh. Since your last dreams about nuclear war, have you had any more since then?
Yes.
Could you please share?
Yes, I have had more dreams about nuclear war. And I can confirm, yes, nuclear war will take place, not because of my dream, but because of the Qur'an and because of the Hadith. And I can also confirm, yes, nuclear war will come soon. The Malhama is coming soon. Why? Because Jerusalem is now center stage. And Medina or Yathrib is now in full-on desolation. Yes, it's coming soon. How soon? That's a good question. How soon? Now give me a few minutes. You've got to be able to connect the dots and read history. When the First World War took place, they would not have succeeded in the First World War unless the United States had entered into the war. And in order to get the United States to enter into the war, because the American people were not in favor of war. And Henry Ford did a great work, Henry Ford, to convince the American people not to enter the war. But they had to use great deception to turn their population around. It was a German submarine which sank a ship, and colossal loss, and that was used. But they sent the ship to be a sitting duck. And that's how they got a chance to enter the First World War and be able to succeed. When the Second World War took place, again they would not have succeeded unless the United States entered the war. What did they do? In order to get the United States to enter the war, Roosevelt ordered the American fleet to be assembled at Pearl Harbor, to be parked there. The admirals of the US Navy said to him, "Are you crazy? If we come to Pearl Harbor, we will be sitting ducks for a Japanese attack." But that is what Roosevelt wanted. So he overruled the admirals, sent the US Navy to Pearl Harbor in order that it could be attacked by the Japanese and get the casus bellum, the opportunity to be able to justify entering into the Second World War. Every time they wage war, it has always been by deception. And I can continue to give you more examples. But this one coming is going to be the mother of all deceptions. They could not wage the First and Second World War until they had a man in the White House they could trust. If Hillary Clinton had won the last election, we may have had the Malhama already. It is my opinion, and I believe there are many analysts who will agree with me, that they cannot trust Trump. No. So long as Trump is President of the United States of America, there will be no Malhama. No. They cannot trust him. In order for them to have the Great War, they need someone else in the White House. So don't be surprised if there is an impeachment and Pence replaces Trump. And if Pence were to replace Trump, then the stage will be set. Then you have your man in the White House, then you need some extraordinary act of deception. And I believe I know what it's going to be, but I'm afraid to speak about it. So I'm going to be silent on it. I will speak in private, but not in public. I believe I know what is going to be this extraordinary act of deception. And I hope and pray that Russia is not deceived. Yeah.
Sheikh, we've got quite a few questions on Turkey and President Erdogan. They're about Turkey buying the Russian S-400 anti-aircraft weaponry, and whether or not there's two different types of questions. One is the significance that the current Erdogan government has on the conquest of Constantinople, or whether or not he is the conqueror of Constantinople.
Well, thank Allah for an easy question. The Qur'an answers. The Qur'an tells us a command from Allah. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء بعضهم أولياء بعض ومن يتوله منكم فإنه منهم إن الله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. I have already explained this ayah 500,000 times already, so you're fed up now. If we use proper methodology, the Qur'an could not be saying, do not take all Jews and do not take all Christians as your friends and allies. No. Because it would be verses of the Qur'an in conflict with each other. So therefore, the Qur'an has to be saying that there are some Jews and some Christians that you're prohibited from maintaining friendship with them and in being in alliance with them. And so the question now is, which Jews and which Christians? Which Jews and which Christians are we prohibited from maintaining friendship with them? And the answer is there. بَعَدُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. بَعَدُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Do not take such Jews and do not take such Christians as your friends and allies, who themselves are friends and allies of each other. If I am wrong, tell me what is right. The Qur'an, therefore, is anticipating a moment in history when a mysterious reconciliation between a part of the Christian world and a part of the Jewish world will take place. And then friendship and alliance, a Judeo-Christian alliance emerging. When that happens, the Qur'an is saying, don't take them as your friends and allies. And if you do, then you now belong to them. You cannot be the leader of the world of Islam. You belong to them. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُم مِّنكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Did you hear that? These are the words of the Qur'an. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُم مِّنكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Whosoever from amongst you turn to them for friendship and alliance, joining their alliance. You belong to them, you don't belong to us. Inna Allah la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. Allah does not provide guidance for a people who are wicked. Has that Judeo-Christian reconciliation and friendship and alliance occurred? Is there a Judeo-Christian alliance in the world today? Unless you are amongst those who bought a one-way ticket to the moon, you would know that the Zionist movement has succeeded. The Zionist movement has succeeded, spectacularly so, in forging a Judeo-Christian alliance. I can say this in a hall. You think I can say this in a masjid anywhere in Britain? No. No. That's the reality facing you in your faces. I can speak the truth and I can explain the book of Allah from a hall, but I can't do it from a masjid. That's right. And how many are there who will stand up to the masjid and tell them? Tell the people in the masjid that you are hijacking the house of Allah. The Judeo-Christian alliance has emerged. It is in the West. It's the Judeo-Christian Zionist alliance. Yes. And they have NATO as their military arm. So if you're a member of NATO, you can't be a part of us. No. The Qur'an is saying you are part of them, not of us. Is that enough for me to answer your question on Turkey? But there's more to Turkey. Turkey is not only a member of NATO, and I hope and I pray that they will have the good sense to come out of NATO. We will be very happy, and all of you will be very happy. The whole world of Islam will be very happy if Turkey were to come out of NATO. Probably you could tell that to him for me, please. But there's something more. We are now witnessing an attack on the Turkish lira. The lira has lost 40% of its value since the attack started. It's in a meltdown now. And the president of Turkey, the present president, is a student and a disciple of perhaps the greatest leader that modern Turkey ever had. Yes, that was his murshid, a man named Najmuddin Erbakan, rahimahullah. Yes, rahimahullah. Great man. And it was Najmuddin Erbakan who declared, holding up a dinar publicly. He said, this is the road to salvation for this country. That is your leader. And yet when the Turkish lira is on attack and it is melting, the disciple is yet to say that we must bring dinar and dirham into the market as legal tender to stop the meltdown. Why is he not doing that? I think it's a good question to ask, and I want to stop there.
Sheikh, what role does Khurasan play in the Great War?
I am not going to comment on the hadith, but rather I prefer to comment on the historical reality that that part of the world which at that time was known as Khorasan, which is not today's Khorasan. That part of the world which at that time was known as Khorasan offered the greatest resistance to Western colonization. Men in that part of the world still have beards on their faces. Yes, men in that part of the world still have beards on their faces. Men in that part of the world still dress in a manner that you can see that they've not been westernized. No. And so it is perhaps this historical reality that this is the only part of the world of Islam which as a geographical area has consistently, successfully resisted colonization and has offered a response of an armed struggle for freedom from Western imperialism, that there is always the possibility that from that part of the world will come a response in Akhir Zaman which can assist the Ummah in struggling in its historic role in Akhir Zaman for the liberation of mankind from oppression. I have nothing more to say.
For those who are not blessed financially, in today's modern world, how do us common people scrap bogus money and start using dinar and dirham?
All over Europe, I understand, it's possible to buy gold and silver. And even in Britain, you can buy gold and silver coins. Okay? You would not want to buy gold and silver coins for their, how do we pronounce that word, their numismatic value. We are not concerned of any value of a coin other than the quantity of gold that is in the coin, that's all. It does not have to be 4.25 grams, which is this weight of a dinar, no. It could be any weight of a coin. The idea is you use gold. Buy gold. So if gold is available in the market here, buy it. Whatever be the size of the coin, 1 ounce, go ahead and buy it. But you should be buying the value of the gold, not anything more than that. And if you buy gold and silver coins, you pay more, I believe. We may have some experts right here sitting who would know that if you buy the gold bar or the bullion, you pay less because there's a price for minting the coin. At this time, if you do not have a market where you can use the coins for buying and selling, you don't need the coins. No. All you need is the gold bars. And if you have the gold bars, then when the value of money collapses, your value of your money will remain intact, will be safe. Money in the Qur'an is always money with intrinsic value, which is why it is important to knock on the doors of the government of Pakistan and say, wake up, would you kindly go to the Qur'an and check out what is money in the Qur'an? Yeah? Money in the Qur'an is always money with intrinsic value. The value of the money is in the money. Money in the Qur'an is money which you can weigh. Because when Samuel was appointed king, or Saul was appointed king, this is Surah Al-Baqarah, the Israelites say, how could you appoint him as king when he doesn't even have a sa' of money, of weight? A sa' is a measure of weight. So therefore, money in the Qur'an is money which can be weighed, which has weight. It can be weighed. Can you weigh electronic money? Huh? Can you weigh cryptocurrencies? Are you afraid to answer no? Huh? Money in the Quran is money you can bury. Remember? Surah Al-Kahf, you bury the money. Excuse me, can you bury electronic money? Huh? Are you afraid to answer me now? No. Can you bury cryptocurrencies? No. Huh? No. Okay, well let me give you one more. You know, it's good to visit the Quran now and then, isn't it? Money in the Quran is money you can keep for 300 years. And after 300 years, you could still go and buy the food. Huh? Did you hear that? They don't teach this in the classrooms of monetary economics. No. In other words, money in the Quran is money which can store value for 300 years. When I was 5 years of age in 1947, my father bought a car so he could take me to school. He was a school principal. So then he also started taking me to the market on Saturdays. And this 5-year-old Imran with a basket will be walking with Papa, and he's buying. And it's very exciting for me to go to the market. And I saw with my eyes, I saw my father buy 100 oranges for $1. I'm now 76. So 71 years later, I go to the same market and I cannot buy even one orange with $1. But that money in Surah Al-Kahf, after 300 years, could still buy the food. That's money. That's money in the Quran. And so, it makes sense to buy gold and silver in order to protect your wealth from vanishing or from melting or from leaking. But you can go one step further than that. You can establish a micro market in which you can buy and sell from each other in dinar and dirham. Yes, dinar and dirham. Once we get dinar and dirham in adequate supply, then I can say to you, okay, you can pay for my books with dirhams. Just go to that table out there and you can buy the dirhams. And then come here and you buy the books with the dirham. And when you give in charity and you give dirhams, or you pay your zakat and you give it in dirhams or dinars, or you want to perform the hajj and you use dinar and dirham, you know that this is a halal transaction. But the paper money and the plastic money and the electronic money is bogus, it's fraudulent, and it's utterly haram, and don't challenge me, because I know my subject. I'm sorry to speak this bluntly, because nobody teaches the subject anymore.
Sheikh, would you agree that there is a linear progression before divine punishment takes place? In other words, rejection of Allah's guidance and therefore consciousness, the rise of decadence, and the conclusion of calamity? If so, is the opposite also true?
We are living in Akhirul Zaman, and in Akhirul Zaman there is continuous decline. Don't expect a miracle to occur and the historical process to reverse, because our Prophet has said that in Akhirul Zaman there is continuous decline. Indeed, the decline is going to continue to such an extent that the world is going to be overrun with garbage. Yes. Anywhere you turn amongst mankind, all you're seeing is garbage. Where is it? Nabi Muhammad ﷺ was asleep at the home of his wife Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anha. And he had a vision. And in that vision he saw something terrible. And he woke up with his face flushed red. And he uttered these words, Waylul lil Arab, woe unto the Arabs, min sharrin qad iktaraba, because of a great evil which is now approaching, which is near. And then he raised his hands and he made his fingers like this, and he said, today a hole has been made in the barrier built by Zulkarnain. So we know that the release of Gog and Magog into the world commenced in the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. She asked Zainab radiallahu ta'ala, will we be destroyed even though there are righteous people amongst us? An-nuhlaku wa fina salihun. What did he say? He said, Na'am, the Arabs will be destroyed. When? إِذَا كَثُرَ الْخَبَثِ, when khabath prevails in the world. Khabath is garbage. Huh? So your money that you're now using is garbage. So many other things today is garbage. If you have eyes to see, you will see the garbage all around you. And so there is continuous decline, until that time comes when Allah sends Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, and he sends back Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And when Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns, guess what's going to happen? It is in Surah to Ali Imran. Ya Isa, oh Jesus, inni mutawaffik, I'm going to take what? Your wallet? No. The context here, take your soul. I'm going to take your soul. If Allah takes his soul and does not return it, then he's dead. He's dead. But Allah says, no, they did not kill him. They did not crucify him. Well then, is there any other possibility? Yes. In fact, there are only two. Only two. If Allah takes the soul, then either he keeps the soul or he returns the soul. This is there in Surah Al-Zumar. Let me repeat it. The Qur'an says that Allah took his soul. The Qur'an says that Allah took his soul. Shall I repeat that? Or did you hear it? Allah took his soul. Twice in the Qur'an, Allah took his soul. When Allah takes the soul, there are only two possibilities, not three. Please tell that to the Ahmadiyya movement. Only two, not three. Either Allah keeps the soul, in which case he is dead, that is maut, or Allah returns the soul. Only two. But Allah could not have kept the soul because Allah said, no, they did not kill him. They did not crucify him. So you don't need a PhD. No. Just elementary common sense. That the Qur'an is telling you Allah took the soul, and by implication, Allah returned the soul and then raised him. And therefore he has to come back because he has not experienced maut. He did not die. He did not die. No. And every soul must taste death. So the Qur'an says, Ya Isa unni mutawafik, wa rafi'uka ilayya, and I'm going to raise you unto myself. Take your soul, then return it, and raise you unto myself. Wa mutahhiruka min alladhina kafaru, I'm going to cleanse you of those who have committed the kufr against you, saying such dirty things about you and your mother. But it says something more. Listen to what it says. وَجَاعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ ثُمَّ إِلَيَّ مَرْجِعُكُمْ فَأَحْكُمُ بَيْنَكُمْ فِيمَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. And I'm going to cause those who follow you, that is when you return, those who follow you, cause them to be raised above these who have been committing kufr against you and your mother, which is the Judeo-Christian alliance, which is the West. If these people who are following Jesus are going to be dominant over the West, they're going to be the ruling force in the world. Yes, the ruling force in the world. Does the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ follow Jesus? Huh? Are you afraid to answer me? When you're in your grave and the angel comes to ask you the questions, you know the preliminary questions in the grave? Question one, which is your Rabb? You say, of course, Allah. Question two, who is your Nabi? We will say, our Nabi. Nabi is Muhammad. This is our Nabi. Isa alayhi salam is not our Nabi. Our Nabi is Muhammad. We follow Muhammad alayhi salam. Is that not correct? Am I not telling you the truth? We are not followers of Jesus. We are followers of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And that will never change. That will never change. We follow Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. In kuntum tuhibbuna Allah fattabi'uni. Fattabi'uni, follow me. So we are not followers of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. We are followers of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. But the Qur'an is saying that Allah is going to cause the followers of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, when he returns, to be raised above those who today are committing kufr against him and his mother, which is the Jewish world, which is in alliance with the West. And this is going to continue, this position of dominance will continue ila yawmil qiyamah, until the end of the world. So yes, the Khilafah state will be restored with Imam al-Mahdi. Yes. The Khilafah state will be restored. And when the Khilafah state is restored, Imam al-Mahdi is going to be Amir al-Mu'mineen. But Nabi Isa alayhi salam will also restore a Khilafah state. That's right. And those who follow him are going to be raised by Allah to the highest position in the world. They will rule the world, and we will support them and assist them. Yeah.
Sheikh, a practical question. How can we make provisions against the calamities of the Great War?
The first thing of all is to prepare for the Great War with your heart. Prepare for the Great War with your heart. And if you prepare for the Great War with your heart, in your heart there must be sincerity. Yes, sincerity. Don't play games with Allah. No, be sincere with Him. And if you are sincere with Him, I will give you one example of sincerity. If you are sincere with Him, you'll be sincere with His book, the Qur'an. Yes. When I was 15 years of age, my father died, who was a school principal. And my mother had 5 children, and she didn't know much about the dunya and so on. And we were going through very hard times, very hard times. But I would notice that in the night time, after we've had dinner, and she sent the children to sleep, that my mother would sit in the sitting room and she'd be reciting the Qur'an. And of course she could not recite the Qur'an correctly. They did not have that training. So it's a broken pronunciation and so on. But I would step out of the bedroom and I'll open the door and I'll look and see my mother reciting the Qur'an. And why is she crying? Why are the tears falling on the pages of the book? What kind of a book is this? I'm asking myself at the age of 15. What I eventually learned was that my mother had bonded with the Qur'an. Bonded with the Qur'an. That the Qur'an was a part of her heart. It was there in her heart. And because of that bonding with the Qur'an, when she was reciting, tears would be falling. But you have Salatul Taraweeh in Britain? You do? Really? Huh? And it's in the masjid? Huh? When last did you see anybody crying in Salatul Taraweeh? When the Qur'an was being recited in Salatul Taraweeh. Have you ever seen it? You have? मैंने कभी नहीं देखा. Oh, it's time to go now. Okay. This is bonding with the Qur'an. You can only bond with the Qur'an and love the Qur'an when you recite the Qur'an every day. So if you want to prepare for the Great War, my advice for you is to start with the Qur'an. Recite the Qur'an every day. In Arabic, of course, not in English. There is no English Qur'an. And you must recite the whole Qur'an cover to cover, at least once a month. I don't have the time to give you the hadith now. Every month you finish the Qur'an and then you start again, and you finish it and you start again, and you finish it and you start again. Secondly, preparing for the Malhama, recite Suratul Kahf of the Qur'an on every day of Jum'ah. every day of Jummah. I don't have the time to give you the ahadith, but I have my book, Surah Al-Kahf on the Modern Age in the back. Number 3, there is a dua which the Prophet ﷺ taught, the way he taught the Qur'an. What is that dua? Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min azab al-qabr wa min azab al-nar. O Allah, I seek refuge with thee from the punishment of the grave and the punishment of the fire. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ فِتْنَةِ الْمَحْيَا وَالْمَمَاتِ. And I seek refuge with thee from the trials and tribulations of life and of death. وَمِنْ فِتْنَةِ الْمَسِيحِ الدَّجَّالِ. وَمِنْ فِتْنَةِ الْمَسِيحِ الدَّجَّالِ. And from the fitna of Dajjal, the false Messiah. This dua you should recite every time you perform salat, in every salat, before you make the salams. Before you make the salams, you make this dua. This is part of the preparation for the malhama. Number 2, to prepare for the malhama, get out of the big cities of the world. Because when the malhama takes place, if a big city is not destroyed by a nuclear weapon, the lines of supply will be disrupted. So water will be disrupted. The water supply will be disrupted. The supply of food will be disrupted. Because the cities cannot produce their own food and own water. So in every big city of the world which survives the Great War, there will be anarchy. Within days, people will be killing each other for food and for water. At that time, you're going to turn to Allah. You do not want to take steps to protect your little children who will have no food and no water in the big city. You remain a sitting duck. No. If you want to remain in the big cities because that's where there's money, fine, that's your choice. But I would advise to find a place in the remote countryside, in villages, because the villages will share what they have with each other. Gaon ke log. And you'll have water, you'll have food, and you'll be able to survive in the village. Look for water and look for food.
What are the political events that will take place during Arabia in the Great War, and does the Great War result in the emergence of Imam al-Mahdi?
A Khalifa will die, said the Prophet ﷺ. And there will be disagreement and dissension in respect of succession to rulership. I came to the conclusion many years ago that the Khalifa who will die will not be a Khalifa in the sense of Khilafah, but rather a ruler. And I came to the conclusion many years ago that the ruler who will die and his death will be followed by disagreement, a free-for-all, would be a Saudi king. And since then, the events which are unfolding, and now with Mohammed bin Salman, the stage is set. That when the present Saudi king dies, if as expected Mohammed bin Salman takes over, then there's going to be open dissent in Saudi Arabia. Open dissent. It is in that stage of open, I don't know how long it's going to last. It is in that stage of open dissent and disagreement that the stage will be set for Imam al-Mahdi to emerge. So here is one of the signs pertaining to the Arabian Peninsula that is going to occur in Akhir al-Zaman. Another one is that a plague will wipe out the Arabs, the way sheep are wiped out. Plague, of course, is epidemic. But the epidemic will not enter Mecca and Medina. So if you're in Mecca and Medina, you'll be safe. But outside of Mecca and Medina, you'll be wiped out by plague. So therefore, we can expect what may better be described as biological warfare on the Arabs. I think that's enough.
One more question, Sheikh. The Bible also echoes the end days within Matthew 24. Is this something that you will address with our Christian brothers in order to build a bond between us?
1924.
Matthew 24 is a verse in the Bible.
The Bible says something about 1924?
So the Bible echoes the end days, Akhir Zaman in the Bible.
Oh no, when I go to the Christians, I don't tell them about their eschatology. No. I prefer to stay within my own limits and only speak on my eschatology and let them speak on their eschatology. Okay? And when they explain their eschatology, then we look to see what there is in common between us. Yeah.
One of the signs of the Day of Judgment is that there will be no poverty left on earth. Do you have any thoughts on how this may happen?
I don't understand the question. What is the sign of the Day of Judgment? What is the sign of the Day of Judgment?
One of the signs.
One of the signs of the Day of Judgment is?
That there will be no poverty.
There will be no poverty in the world. Oh yes, there is a hadith that after Imam al-Mahdi emerges, the Khalifa will share wealth. He will share wealth to the people. So I said to myself, you scratch your beard, and is it going to be US dollars or euros? Or will he be sharing sterling pounds? So I called the Mufti. You call the Mufti? Mufti? What kind of money will he be sharing? I'm still waiting for the answer. I'm still waiting for the answer. One day, inshallah, the Mufti will say, he's going to be sharing dinar and dirham. Because that is money in Islam. Okay? Where will he get the dinar and dirham from? When they have control over the gold and silver. The hadith is that the earth will vomit from its liver columns of gold and silver. Vomiting from its liver looks like a volcano, doesn't it? Vomiting from its liver looks like a volcano. And I was astonished to learn that in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, they call it the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire. A huge semicircle of volcanoes. And these volcanoes have already been erupting lava of gold. In Java, for example. It's already taking place. So in Java, they go digging for gold in different parts of Java, the island of Java. So it is possible that Allah will cause the gold and silver to come out of the earth in huge amounts. This is possible for him. He is fa'alul lima yurid, and that's how the Imam will get the gold and silver, which can be then minted and distributed to the people.
Dajjal exists and will eventually appear as a human being, and it's stated that he will be born to Jewish parents. How is this possible?
Oh yes, if he's not born and can trace his ancestry to the house of David, Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, no Jew will accept him. No? If he falls down from the sky, you think they will accept him as the Messiah? No. For him to be accepted as the Messiah, he has to show his lineage. He has to show his lineage to the house of Dawood alayhi salam. So he has to be born of a woman. They have to know who is his mother. They have to know who is his father. Okay? But if you read my book entitled Dajjal, the Qur'an and Awwalul Zaman, which we have at the back. This is my first book on Dajjal. I'm working on the second one now, Dajjal and Money. And the third one is entitled From Jesus, the True Messiah, to Dajjal, the False Messiah, a journey in Islamic eschatology. I've written about half of that already. The fourth one will be the Dajjal and Women, the Feminist Revolution. And the last one will be Dajjal, the Qur'an, and Akhirul Zaman. So, in that first book on Dajjal, you will find the analysis that in the Qur'an, when Allah spoke to Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا سُلَيْمَانَ وَأَلْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيهِ جَسَدٍ ثُمَّ أَنَابَ, Surah Sabah, that Allah gave to Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam a vision, and he saw someone sitting on his throne, and that terrified him. What was it? A jasad sitting on his throne. And it terrified him to such an extent that he made a dua. And he asked Allah that none should be able to inherit his kingdom. None. رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لِي وَهَبْ لِي مُلْكًا وَهَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي. Grant me that none should be able to inherit my income. Put on your thinking cap. Obviously, he made this dua because he saw that that fellow sitting on his throne wants to inherit his kingdom. And that fellow is so evil, so evil, so evil, that he prefers that his kingdom should end when he dies, rather than that fellow inheriting his kingdom. Who is that fellow? The Jasad. My interpretation is Dajjal. So far, I don't have anyone to support me. Yes. I'm still only one solitary voice. So maybe people won't be convinced. But if it is correct that Jasad is Dajjal, then eventually, inshallah, people will accept this interpretation. Dajjal wants to rule the world. Where is the Jasad? What is the implication of Dajjal being a Jasad? Who is going to be born as a baby? I don't want to take another half an hour of your time now. No. But you have to think about it. If Dajjal is a Jasad, what is the implication?
Can you please give some insight and knowledge on how to start a Muslim village in the UK?
Just go to the remote countryside. And if you cannot start a village of your own, look for an existing village. And do not go to the village and infuriate the people. No. That the truth is only with us and you are barbarians. Huh? We have the truth and nobody else has the truth. They'll kick you out of that village. That's wrong. We are not the only people with the truth. No. The truth came to others before us. So go to the people in the village and live with them like a family. And when you see some remnant of the truth with them, a remnant, tell them, yes, you have something of the truth. I give you an example. You're going to be shocked with this. Why would Allah tell the angels, bow down and make sajda before a human being? Yusjudu li Adam. Huh? How could Nabi Yaqub alayhi salam make sajda before his son Yusuf alayhi salam? The answer is that sajda at the beginning of history was not an act of worship. It was an act of respect. That's why Allah could say to the angels, Isjudu li Adam. Allah was not saying to the angels, worship Adam. No! How could he say that? Make sajda before Adam does not mean worship him. Sajda at that time was an act of respect. And after that, sajda remained an act of respect. Yes, an act of respect. Until this ummah came into being, and now for the first time, sajda for us is no longer an act of respect. Only for us. Only for us. For us, sajda is an act of worship. Only this ummah. Okay? But some Muslims probably don't realize that, don't understand it. So they're still making sajda. But if you look at Hinduism, you will see that the Hindu civilization has preserved sajda as an act of respect. The Hindu woman stoops down and touches the feet of her husband. She stoops down and touches the feet of the Guru. Yes. And when she does that, she's not doing that to worship him. She's doing that because she's doing it to show respect for him. And she has the right to continue doing that. We cannot tell her you are wrong. It is only we in this ummah, we are prohibited from doing that. We have to say to her, do you know that what you have done is there in the Qur'an? It's there in the Qur'an. Sajda as an act of respect is in the Qur'an, what you've just done. The Hindu will be very happy to learn that we respond in this way to a part of Hindu civilization, which we find echoing in the Qur'an. That's the way to go into the villages. Not like an arrogant Muslim wanting to lord it over the whole village. No, that's not the way. Go to the remote countryside and live in a loving way, kind way, friendly way with the villagers. And try to find security in the remote countryside. If the villagers accept you, mashallah. If the villagers accept you, even they are not Muslims, they accept you, you have found refuge. If you cannot build a village of your own. Okay? 10 o'clock?
One more question. How do we help our brothers and sisters in Palestine other than by giving charity?
I didn't understand the question, sorry.
How do we help our brothers and sisters in Palestine in a way other than by simply giving charity?
This is, if you're talking about material help, then it's the leaders of the Muslim community in Britain who will have to answer that question. I can't answer that, yeah. But non-material help, you could stand up and speak. Yes, defend the rights of the Palestinians, defend the rights of Palestinians whether they are Muslims or whether they are Christians. Yes, they are a people who are oppressed. And do not be afraid to stand up. This ummah has been given a mission by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mission is Amar bil ma'aruf wa nahi anil munkar. If it is right, stand up for it. And if it is wrong and unjust, stand up against it. If you cannot do it with your voice, with your tongue, then at least do it with your heart. Detest it, the oppression. And if you don't detest it in your heart, then even that which is the lowest form of faith is not in your heart. But I would expect those who come to attend my lectures to be a people with backbone. So you will not be afraid to speak out against the oppressor. Okay? Yeah, okay. The books are at the back. If you want to bring them to me for autographing, inshallah, after the dua, you can do so. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك ربنا وتعاليت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من عذاب القبر ومن عذاب النار ونعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا والممات ومن فتنة المسيح الدجال وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وعلى أصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين